do you have a price prediction for ETH at the peak of this respective bull run?
Yeah, I mean, I think it goes over 20,000, and I have done for a long time. And there's a potential for even further because of the staking dynamics and stuff. But my general view is that it goes to 20,000. That was, and I say that with a relative level of confidence. That's just a repeat of what Bitcoin did in 2017. It kind of overlays pretty well. It's not perfect. It was perfect for a while. The charts were like spooky tick for tick. Now they're not, but contextually kind of makes sense for me. It's only a 4x from here. I mean, we've seen Bitcoin do 4x in, or ETH last cycle did, 4x, 5x, 6x in the last month of the year. So who knows?
Now, can you tell us what's in your crypto portfolio? And I'm assuming it's maybe a lot. So maybe your top coins that you're holding. You mentioned Ethereum.
It's fascinating. So my structure of how I built my portfolio is I started with Bitcoin, moved into Ethereum, switched most of my Bitcoin into Ethereum. And then I built a basket of alternatives, and I just took an equally weighted basket of like 10 large cap, because I don't know, and then I watched it. I added Solana at some point into that. And didn't do anything else, just left it like that. What's fascinating is my second largest holding now, from an equally weighted basket, second to Ethereum, Sandbox. I haven't bought any. It just went up 20x in the last month and a half, which is crazy. I mean, I would not have my second largest. I would not take that position, the second largest position in Sandbox, but that's where it is. And I'm not rebalancing for the time being. I'm just letting this phase play out and see where these things go. So yes, it's a mix. And so I've got some DeFi protocols, the usual Aave and whatever, stuff like Uniswap. And then I've got stuff like Polkadot, just all the stuff you'd expect. Nothing interesting. It gets interesting because I put metaverse bets on 6 months ago. Those things exploded, Decentraland and Sandbox. And I have some social token bets with Chiliz and Rally. So those are slightly different because they're more macro thematic bets of what I think future things are. But it's hard now with Sandbox because it's gone up so much. It's like, do I have enough conviction to have my second largest position in this?
Right. Like you, I'm diversified. I believe there will be multiple winners, similar to like the dot-com boom, your Googles, your Amazons, but there's going to be the pets.coms in there and some are going to fail. When you turned more bullish on Ethereum than Bitcoin, I know a lot of Bitcoin maximalists came after you, which, it is what it is. And, you brought a really interesting theory to the mix there, why we're seeing this type of maximalist, tribalist activity. You mentioned Metcalfe's law and because of the financial incentive. Can you talk to us a bit about that? And, do you see this continuing, or it's just a maturation that needs to happen over time?
I'm not entirely sure it'll ever change. And the reason being is Metcalfe's law basically values the network on the number of nodes on the network, and they're basically that number of connections between the nodes. So let's say you're an owner of Bitcoin, which I am. You are highly incentivized to protect the network at all costs and to spread the gospel of the network. Because the more people join the network, the more the value of the network goes up. But that's behavioral incentive 101. That's behavioral economics. So it's incredibly powerful. So it will always drive people who only see that one thing. Because A, it's given them some return, and they want to defend it at all costs. And we see that it remains tribal because of the element of tokens. If it was a technology and share prices, it's different because you're not part of the network. You're just a passive owner of the shares. But tokenization is different. You're an active owner of a network and participant.
It's just so fascinating. It's human nature, I suppose, playing out in a digital format.
Well, we are tribal, right? We are tribal, and we tend to coalesce in these groups, and we like to organize these groups in certain ways, and this seems to be one of those ways.
You mentioned that, and I just immediately thought of sports and religion and other aspects of society.
They're the same. They're all the same.
Yeah.
Humans find comfort in groups. They feel secure. They feel safe. It's the same as tribes, same as families. It's all the same. That's how humans are. I mean, it's hilarious that we're calling this whole thing decentralized, but actually what we're doing is re-centralizing around smaller groups. Mm. So we're like, we hate the government, we hate these countries, but we want to be part of the Bored Ape Yacht Club. Yeah. It's the same thing. You're centralizing around a different thing. It's just a smaller centrality.
Now, I want to talk a bit more about Ethereum. I hold Ethereum. I'm bullish on it. I'm staking ETH2. I do believe Ethereum has first mover advantage. But one thing that is in the back of my mind and thinking about the future of adoption are these gas fees. How do you personally look at this? And do you see this as a risk that a Solana and some other Polkadot or something can overtake Ethereum eventually as a result?
Maybe. I'm indifferent. You know, I have no emotion about does Solana become a larger network. It's a trade-off between centralization and decentralization. The reason the gas fees are so expensive in Ethereum is because it's so popular. Mm. So that opens up opportunities for other chains. Do they become a chain that ends up being larger than Ethereum? Who the hell knows? And it doesn't really matter. People take it like it's a personal thing. It's like, do I care whether Google is bigger than Apple or Apple bigger? No, they're all going to exist.
Well, Raoul, real quick, maybe I didn't phrase that correctly. So all emotions aside, think of, okay, Yahoo came out with the great search engine at the time, but then Google came along with a better algorithm and a cleaner interface, and then essentially owned the search market, right? So I'm thinking from that standpoint of speed, transaction per second, and things like that. Are you concerned, or maybe it's just early where it doesn't matter at this point? Because Yahoo,
it doesn't matter at this point. I mean, if you can show me the network dying in Ethereum and network growth slowing, then that's a serious issue. If it's not, then it's not. You know, right now it's highly observable that the Ethereum network is growing faster than the Bitcoin network, and Solana and Terra and Avalanche are growing faster than Ethereum, but from a lower base. Mm. That's fine. So they're all growing. And you know, the Bitcoin network is growing. So every one of those is growing. And so at this stage, it doesn't matter.
Got it. Now, let's talk a bit more about Ethereum. Where do you see it as one of the base layer protocols similar to what we have in the internet? Because there's so much building on it. You had ICOs, now you have NFTs, and obviously it's leading the DeFi movement. What are your thoughts on all these things that are being built on it? And is that part of why you're so bullish on it, that it is that?
Yeah, this is what makes Metcalfe's law interesting, because you can have a chain like Doge, which has a lot of investors, but not enough use cases. I think it may come because it's such a big chain with so many people on it that why would you not build applications for it? But it's a very lopsided Metcalfe's law, so it should be very volatile in price because once the investors leave, there's no stuff. Ethereum is so deep and so rich an ecosystem with the number of people building on it that it's incredibly powerful. And everybody has to realize is whatever people think the narrative is in Bitcoin about Bitcoin being money, the reality is the medium of exchange in Web 3.0 is ETH. Mm. I mean, all NFTs are priced in ETH. Sotheby's are doing art auctions in ETH. DeFi is based in ETH generally. The metaverse is in ETH. I even commissioned a headquarters for Real Vision in Crypto Voxels. We got a metaverse architects firm to build it. They charge us in ETH. So ETH is money right now. Does it always remain money? Who knows? But right now, nobody pays each other in Web 3.0 and Bitcoin. Literally nobody.
Yeah, absolutely. It's everything with NFTs and metaverse. You have to use ETH at this point. So with that said, do you have a price prediction for ETH at the peak of this respective bull run?
Yeah, I mean, I think it goes over 20,000, and I have done for a long time. And there's a potential for even further because of the staking dynamics and stuff. But my general view is that it goes to 20,000. That was, and I say that with a relative level of confidence. That's just a repeat of what Bitcoin did in 2017. It kind of overlays pretty well. It's not perfect. It was perfect for a while. The charts were like spooky tick for tick. Now they're not, but contextually kind of makes sense for me. It's only a 4x from here. I mean, we've seen Bitcoin do 4x in, or ETH last cycle did, 4x, 5x, 6x in the last month of the year. So who knows? I think the cycle extends anyway. I think it's not going to be the same Bitcoin halving cycle that we've seen. I think it's changed because of the nature of people who are in the market now as well, with the institutions coming in and others. So yeah, I think it goes further and higher than most people imagine.
Do you see the cycle extension going to maybe mid next year to blow off top is in mid next year or beyond that?
I think mid next year. I think it's somewhere around the. I think it's somewhere. If ETH we've just discussed is so important to the current environment of where we are, arguably it's more important than Bitcoin because of how much is being built on it and is driving prices because of NFTs and DeFi and all these things moving the price of ETH. Then the ETH 2.0 staking, whenever that happens, and not the staking, the release of ETH 2.0, I think around that is the moment, because you kind of know. I know people I've been arguing a bit on Twitter about this. I've always said that the moment it's released is probably a buy the rumor, sell the fact. And everyone's like, yeah, but my ETH's already going to be locked for a longer period. But I can front run you because I know you have to sell your ETH. You might sell your ETH as soon as you're unlocked. So why would I give you the benefit of higher prices to sell into? Markets know positions. So there's nothing worse than ETH 2.0 out, you're still locked, and I get to sell because I didn't stake, and you're trapped watching the prices fall.